Well, hello everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Morgan. I'm a financial wellness specialist with the Financial Education Program, and I'm joined today by my colleague, Andrea Jansen, our interim director. There's been a lot of talk in the media about the student debt relief plan that was announced last summer, and we're excited to talk about some of the details with you today. So let's go ahead and jump in. So as most people have heard, last summer, the Biden administration announced a three-part plan to provide more breathing room to America's working families as many continue to recover from the COVID-19 pandemic. This plan offers targeted debt relief as part of a comprehensive effort to address the burden of growing college costs and make the student loan system more manageable for working families. But as such, many borrowers and families may be asking themselves, how does this affect me? And Andrea is going to talk a little bit about the first part of the plan.
Okay, so as Morgan said, this is one of the first parts of the three-phase plan that's rolled out, and probably the one that's gotten the most publicity or notifications about this, and a lot of questions around it. So we're going to boil this down to a simple overview of what this forgiveness means and how it might affect you, as we've talked about a little bit. So what's going to go on is the Department of Education is going to provide up to $20,000 in cancellation for your student loans to people who have received the Pell Grant. Then they're also going to do, if you did not receive a Pell Grant, they still have up to $10,000 across the board for debt cancellation to anybody who did not receive that Pell Grant. There are also going to be income parameters or income limits. As you can see, if you are an individual who makes $125,000 or less, you will get that either $10,000 or $20,000 forgiveness. And if you live in a household that's making under the $250,000 threshold for income, you will also receive some income or some forgiveness on here. So another really huge part that a lot of questions we have received are talking about, are you eligible? What type of loans are eligible for forgiveness? There's been a lot of confusion on it too, with some of these being rolled back. So we're going to spend some time and go through what loans are eligible. So any loans that are an undergraduate or graduate direct loan will be eligible, as well as a Parent Plus loan or a Grad Plus loan. So if a parent had to help you through school, or a parent helped a child through school, Parent Plus loans do qualify for this forgiveness. Any consolidation loans that have been consolidated and the original disbursed date on these loans are before July or June 30th, 2022 will count. Any loans that are disbursed after or consolidated after June 30th will not count for loan forgiveness. So that kind of falls into the broad, any students like freshmen who have taken out their first loans this semester or for this year will not get loan forgiveness for these loans they just took out. Federal Family Education Loans, as we refer to them as FFEL loans, any of those that are held by the Department of Education will qualify. And same with the Perkins loans. Any Perkins loans that anybody had taken out that are held by the Department of Education will qualify for loan forgiveness. The caveat on here that was rolled back is federal family loan or education loans can be commercially held. So that means if you were making any payments, you had to make payments during COVID payment pause, you probably had a federally held or commercially held FFEL loan. Those do not qualify anymore. Now I say anymore because as of September 29th, they said any consolidations from that date on FFEL loans do not qualify. If you were lucky enough and consolidated your loans on September 28th or prior, they will qualify for this loan forgiveness, this one-time loan forgiveness. The last things that do qualify on here are defaulted loans. So any type of loans that are in default, it doesn't matter if they are held commercially or held by the Department of Education, will qualify for forgiveness. So that's a huge help for our borrowers who have defaulted. So now let's go on to our next slides and we'll cover a little bit more information that we've got here.
Yeah, thanks, Andrea. So behind every number, there's a person, there's a family, there's a story. And based on the numbers that were released by the Department of Education, we estimated how this forgiveness plan is going to affect Montana specifically. So it's estimated that over 120,000 Montanans will qualify for the broad 10,000 in loan forgiveness. This is huge for a lot of folks in rural communities in particular that had to borrow in order to access higher education. Of that number, over 78,000 will qualify for the additional 10,000 if they received a Pell Grant while they were getting their undergrad. So ultimately, 78,000 Montanans are going to see $20,000 in broad forgiveness for their student loans, up to $20,000, and then $10,000 for over 120,000 Montanans. So a pretty big impact to our community. And Andrew's going to talk a little bit about the next part of the plan.
Thank you. So a lot of people have been asking about how do I apply for this? How do I get my application out in so I can get that forgiveness? They have originally said that it would be out sometime in October. And just recently, over this past weekend, Department of Education has released a beta application. So that is currently live on studentaid.gov. When you first log into studentaid.gov, or not even log in, but pull it up, there is a direct link that goes to this screenshot that we are sharing here, the screen that you can start applying, see who's eligible, scroll down and apply. Now, since this is a beta application, it's not going to be, they're testing it. So sometimes it might be live and you can apply. Sometimes it might not be out there and you're not able to apply at that moment. Please come back and try again. Keep coming back and trying until you've been able to apply, submit your application. What we're going to go through now with this application is it's very, very simple. There's only 5 things that you need. What you will need is your social security number, your name, your date of birth, and your contact information. You do not need to sign in with an FSA ID. So if you do not have that, you do not need to sign in. It is simply just providing those 4 bullet points: your name, social security, birth date, and contact information, and then agreeing to the terms and conditions. As I said, it's very, very simple. It is easy to work through. Now, with it being in beta, they are not processing any of these applications until it is fully launched. Even though when it's fully launched, then they'll start processing the applications, but you do not need to apply again. So by applying this one time in this test format, they'll hold on to it. And then once it is launched, they will go back and look at everybody's application that had applied during this beta process. The second phase to the 3-phase rollout for forgiveness is that they have extended the payment pause on your student loans. Now, this is going to be their final extension on the payment pause, and it is going to go all the way through December 31st of 2022. So that means starting in January of 2023, you will be expected to start payment on your loans. This is a good time between now and December 31st to go in and look at your loans, to see the repayment options that you have, to figure out who your loan servicer is, what payments might look like for you, especially if you have never entered repayment before. So I'm talking specifically to the graduates who have graduated in spring of 2020 all the way until December of 2023, or even spring, or not 2023, December of 2022 and spring of 2022. You guys have not had to come in and pick a repayment plan or look at and start your repayment because of these payment pauses. So this is a great time to familiarize yourself with studentaid.gov, with your loan servicer, figure out your repayment plans. And then anybody who has not had to make payment pauses or has been on that payment pause since March, this is a great time to refamiliarize yourself with who your loan servicer is. It might have changed. There's been a lot of changes with loan servicers over the past year. So this is a great time to go to studentaid.gov, log in, and get yourself familiarized before January so that you do not default on a payment or become delinquent. So this is very important to refamiliarize yourself with your situation. And if you have questions about it or want help to refamiliarize yourself, contact our department, financial education. Morgan and I are happy to sit with you and look through your options and make it a more clear, defined plan.
You can cut that out. I was on a roll there a little bit. Okay. Thank you, Andrea. So starting over. Yeah, thanks, Andrea. So well, the broad student loan forgiveness plan is a big deal for current borrowers. The Department of Education also announced a proposed new income-driven repayment plan that will make the student loan system more manageable for current and future borrowers. So under the new proposed repayment plan, which won't be available until the summer of next year, the summer of 2023, borrowers will pay no more than 5% of their discretionary income on undergraduate loans. This is down from 10% under the most recent income-driven repayment plan. So basically, this will cut monthly payments in half for the average undergraduate borrower. The new plan will raise the amount of income that's considered non-discretionary income and therefore protected from repayment. So that guarantees that no borrower earning under 225% of the federal poverty level, which is just over $30,000 a year, will have to make a monthly payment. So in simple terms, anybody making under $30,500 a year will pay zero on their undergraduate loans. In addition to that, and next slide, Andrea. In addition to that, the new plan will cover the borrower's unpaid monthly interest. So unlike other existing income-driven repayment plans, no borrower's loan balance will grow as long as they make their monthly payments, even when that monthly payment is zero. Because their income is so low. This is a really huge policy shift that could benefit a lot of student loan borrowers. So again, while the forgiveness is a really huge step, this is ultimately for future borrowers and in the long term for a lot of folks going to take a little bit of the burden of student loans off. So one last piece of this plan, the new plan will forgive loan balances after 10 years of payments instead of 20. For borrowers with loan balances of $12,000 or less. Again, this is undergraduate loans, but it's changing the policy structure of that piece as well.
Now we've covered the plan with student loan forgiveness and the Biden or the new income-driven repayment plan. So let's go back to the forgiveness side of things and how it's going to be applied in the order of your loans. So the main part is if you have multiple loans that need to be forgiven, so multiple direct loans, the Department of Education is going to apply this forgiveness in this following order. So they are going to look at your highest statutory interest rate. So if your highest interest rate that you have on any of your loans, that is where they're going to look at first. If you have interest rates that are the same, so if you have an unsubsidized loan and a subsidized loan, they're going to go to your subsidized loan first and take off that loan with that highest interest. So that's where the forgiveness is going to be provided first. If you have the same interest rates and subsidy statuses, so they're both an under subsidized loan with a 6.8% interest rate, they're going to go to the most recent loan. So the one that was given out most recently, last to you based off of those numbers. If the interest rate, subsidy status, and disbursement date are the same, they're going to apply to the loan with the lowest combined principal and interest balance. So they're going to go to the lowest interest or the lowest balance first, if everything else holds true on there. So to kind of summarize that, they're going to go to your highest interest rate. They're going to go to your subsidized loan first. If you have multiple subsidized loans with the multiple interest rates, they're going to go to the most recent one dispersed. And then they're going to go to the lowest principal and interest combined out of all of that in that order. So that gives you an idea of what to expect and to kind of figure out what your balance is going to be left over after that forgiveness is gone, especially on that interest side of things. We're going to talk real quick, shout out to the PSLF waiver deadline. This is less than, oh my goodness, I can't do math really quick, so less than 2 weeks away for this deadline. It is really important so that to utilize this temporary waiver. What it does is that is for this limited time, so this past year, they have let payments count that do not normally count under the PSLF agenda, umbrella, if you will. Before this waiver came out, any payments that you made that were not the right balance or were not on the right income-driven repayment plan, or you made on FFEL loans, old loans, those would not count. This waiver is also helping you, like I said, FFEL loans, any payments that you made on those, if you consolidate your loans, those payments will now count. So instead of having maybe 5 years of PSL of qualifying payments, you might either have them forgiven or you might be closer to that forgiven amount by consolidating those older FFVL loans into direct loans. What you will want to do is you will want to have the consolidation application in by October 31st to utilize this, and as well having any PSLF forms signed or generated by the PSLF help tool by October 31st of this year. So in this 2 weeks period, use the PSLF help tool on studentaid.gov to generate a PSLF form. If you follow and go through all the steps on that help tool to the point that you print off the page, as long as you have done that, the Department of Ed will mark that you have or maintain a record that you have started the process on this. So even if you have done all of that and you sent it to your employer and you don't know if you're going to get it back by the 31st and get it into MOHELA, it's okay because you have already marked and generated the process, started the process by using the PSL help tool. The caveat on this too that I want to point out is if you use this manually, if you do enter the form manually, not using the help tool whatsoever, you need to have it signed by your employer by the 31st of October. You can send it in later and get it approved later, but it has to be signed and dated by your employer certifier by the 31st of October. So that's my big push for this. If you have questions, contact the financial education program or Morgan or myself, and we will be able to help you and give you a little bit more information about that. All right, Morgan, I'll turn it over to you to finish us up.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. Anybody who has any questions regarding the student loan forgiveness plan, please reach out to us. Our email, financialeducation@umontana.edu. We are also on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter as well. The handle is, of course, at Financial Ed, that's ED, and follow along for any updates or information as this continues to evolve. And reach out to us to make a one appointment if you want us to look at your case holistically and have a better idea of how this will affect you, particularly going into repayment next year. We are here for you. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.